Hey!
Thank you very much. A very pleasant good evening to all you wonderful folks in Grenada. Check out my complexion. Take a look at me and tell me, am I what I am today, or am I still what I used to be? If you say yes, well then I would prove you wrong. If you say no, well then I'll go with you strong. Because I know the black man of today is not what he used to be yesterday. Though he's moved from the cotton fields and from the bondage of slavery right into major universities, graduating with honor and degrees. So many doctors and lawyers, presidents, prime ministers, who not so long were mere slaves and indentures. My friend, what else can I say? But the black man have really come a long way. La la la, la 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 la. Some still calls him stupid, ignorant and dumb, ignoring completely the conditions and where he came from, deprived of his right to learn, and yet still he learn, and in any field he can hold his own. This is not no questionnaire or quiz, but if that's not progress, you tell me what is. Moving from the cotton fields and from the bondage of slavery right into major universities and graduating with honor and degree. So many doctors and lawyers, president, prime ministers, who not so long were mere slaves and indentures. There's not much more I can say, but the black man have really come a long way. La 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 la, la 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 la. Whoa. Hats off to the black man, brother. I know we have come real far, but that doesn't say now we have to stay right where we are. Keep on moving up. I beg you, don't stop. There is always room for us at the top. Teach our children the things that are right, cause the black man is yet to reach his real height. Though he's moved from the cotton fields and from the bondage of slavery right into major universities, still graduating with honor and degree. So many doctors and lawyers, president, prime ministers, who not so long couldn't be more than slaves and indentures. My friend, what else can I say? But the black man have really come a long way. After the black man, brother, I know we have come real far, but that doesn't say now we have to stay right where we are. Keep on moving up. I beg you, don't stop. There is always room for us at the top. Teach our children the things that are right, cause the black man is yet to reach his real height. Though he's moved from the cotton fields and from the bondage of slavery right into major universities, still graduating with honor and degree. So many doctors and lawyers, president, prime ministers, who not so long couldn't be more than slaves and indentures. My friend, what else can I say? But the black man have really come a long way. Whoa, 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 whoa. La 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 la. It's a Monday, she went fucking. Tuesday, she went back again. Wednesday, this girl went fucking. She must be gone fucking with some man again. La 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 la. Don't go for la 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 la. It's now I find a wife I can fight. I try to talk to she about this cane she like. Every time I go on, she go in and roam. I decide well I go plant a whole cane field home. It's now like the woman get she don't want to suck the cane that I plant for she. So So I put a whole cane pill in her mouth. She still prefer to go fucking all about. I ask she ma for she, I ask she pa for she. But when I ask she old granny, hear what the woman said to me. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, this girl gone to bed. She must be right in the back end. At last I sit down and I tap my breath. How to stop this woman from going for pain? I take my little brother from the country and I bring the little boy home to watch man she. When you hear the score coming to the end, that woman and my brother, them is best friend. The woman really care what she do. You know she start going for bed with my brother too. Monday, for she and when I ask she, oh, granny, well, here we granny. She said Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This girl went for bed. She must be gone. Fucking. Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday. She must be gone. I'm telling you what, down on my knees. Anybody bring me one side, please? I telling you, you must have a care. But tonight I come for the man right here. I'm telling you, the fella have me in a fight. I am looking for Mr. Bernstein the whole night. Well, I can look for the man again. Somebody tell me he gone in the back. Fucking. I wanna ask you, can't stand the size of your needle. You hear how them fellas used to write song long time? She lay down in such a position, it was difficult to give this injection. She keeps grabbing onto the needle, making me so uncomfortable. I say, darling, why can't you be easy? I would be done very shortly. She said, Dr. Kitch, I want you see, is the size of your needle frightening me. I push it in, she pull it out, I push it back, what? She start to show. Dr. Kitch, it's terrible. I can't stand the size of the needle. Yeah, take it out.
You all too worthless. You all too worthless. Good evening. It's Friday night. You see, I grew up near to a rum shop. Corayo rum shop, Robert Corayo rum shop. I remember when I first heard this song playing in the jukebox, and I am saying exactly what Gypsy saying. She went for cane, and my auntie watching me so. When they're singing this song, so well, why auntie watching me singing this song? Well, because I am repeating after Gypsy. She ran for cane, and then me auntie moved from watching to say, stop singing the song, but do you walk? So I then realized this song gets some worthlessness inside. I am being honest. I never thought the song was a worthless song because I could hear the singer singing for cane. But my auntie know the double authority, so she know the worthlessness. So she believed I didn't know the worthlessness. I didn't know the worthlessness is when she had and tell me, stop singing the song. Stop singing that. And I said, I walk out, they got worthlessness in this song. So I start listening more carefully. And then I realized it's not for cane. It's something else. Them chaps and Kaisoba, oh Lord. And later on, double attach. Well, you all little children wouldn't understand the song, but that was a song, was a big song back in me time, back in Dr. Adams' time. Uh, she old granny said she gone for cane again. Good evening to you all and welcome. It's Friday. It's Friday evening. I started with a nice, serious song. One of the functions of music in our Caribbean is identity affirmation, and Gypsy sang there, the black man has come a long way. He has come from the cane fields of slavery and indentureship, and now he's in big university. The black man has come a long way. And that, of course, is a calypso there affirming the black identity and affirming the black contribution, not just to the physical development of Guyana, but to the intellectual development, and the Calypsonian, of course, is bringing that message over. They talk about narratives and so on. The black narrative is not a single linear narrative. And there's the black narrative of suffering, of course, slavery. We suffered under slavery and under colonialism. So there's that part of the narrative. There's the black narrative of integration. The black narrative of integration. We want to integrate with our sisters and brothers. And so part of the black narrative is power sharing, shared governance. As I had to say, we don't want to share governance. We're not trying to share with cats and dogs. We're trying to share with our sisters and brothers. And so therefore, the narrative of black integration. There's the narrative of black entrepreneurism. Some people call it black capitalism. I think Garvey would have some problem with being called a capitalist. But that old black entrepreneurship thing is part of the black narrative. Garvey is probably the greatest spokesperson in recent times of that narrative of entrepreneurship. It's there. It's there in the black narrative. It's not necessarily black capitalism, because black people do business in a different way. And, it takes you some time to understand. Think of it when we were a little boy, when we were little boys and little girls, and you go with short money. You don't get sent home with short food or short thing when they send the shop. The shopkeeper give you, even though you go with short money, give you the thing. So there's a way in which black people do business that is more communal than individualistic. You see? So it is not that black people can't do business, but the black narrative of entrepreneurship is there. It's just that we do business a little bit differently. I said last night that I sometimes in Buxton, especially big people, they get a little tray sending their little guinea and mango and thing. And when I go there, they want to give me the thing free. They want to give you free. And I realize that there is something in the mind, and I work it out. So I would take the free mango, I would take the free guinea pig thing, and then as I'm going, I put a little small piece in she hand and we shut up the hand, and so on. And she's making a distinction between giving me that thing for free and I get you a little small piece, and so on, different. The point I am making is that for her, she's not breaking down the business by giving me couple mango and so on. You see? So it's different approach. So the black narrative, the black worldview is not a singular worldview. There's part of the black worldview that says, look, if you are mixed, you're a mulatto or you're a Douglas, we take you in as black. We're not throwing you away. Once you get black in you, you're black. And that's part of the worldview. It's an inclusive worldview. So when people talk about, all those shops, Heinz and them, the black narrative is not anti-Indian. It's not anti-white. It's a multifaceted worldview. And there's a humanism there. There's a humanism there. We hear the story of black people taking their money and after emancipation buying abandoned plantations and turning them into villages. What we don't often hear is that they loaned money. They loaned money to their former slave masters, some of them who went bankrupt. They loaned them money to bail them out. That part of the story don't be told. So making this black thing that all we do, we ignorant and stupid. And we like winding up. And so on, this thing. That's all we think to be. Be angry. The angry black man and now the angry black woman. I just say black people have got the most love, because I don't think any other group would have gone through 400 years of enslavement and don't be angry every goddamn day. And black people learn how to roll with the punches. We get angry when we need to get angry. But we're not permanent, when we should be permanently angry. We should be under the normal scheme of things. So when people are talking about the black narrative, and they don't know what they are talking about. When black people encounter socialism, they take to it like doctors take to water. Why? Because you go back and you study old ancient civilizations. They were structured in a socialist way. They didn't use the word socialism. They used communalism and, a village. But that is why, Nkrumah them said, this socialism thing is not Marx. Marx didn't have to teach me socialism. Socialism, the whole thing of sharing. I remember when we used to sit around the fire and drink cornmeal porridge, of which I share with you. My feet is my only carriage, so I've got to push on through. The whole thing of sharing. The village. That is part of the way black people do their thing. But people want to tell us that if we don't do it a certain way, is not the business. You will tell African people what business. They make market wherever they are. But they do it differently. A pastor going into church. That look a bottle of water. Because they know when I come out from the church and I finish with God, I'm going to buy me a couple of beers. And so on. It's a kind of communal way to business. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We are going to be warming it up on a Friday evening. Dr. Vincent Adams is here, and we are going to be talking about a few things. This thing that's going on the East Bank with the waste facility at Coverdale, this story getting legs. We're going to talk about it. And so they're upgrading the Cybercrime Act. And they say, no, we're not going after Rickford Burke and Mark Benchop and Paul Slow. We just bring in our cybercrime law in line with the United Nations requirement. When this government tell you walk, run like a akuri. Run like a akuri, me tell you. Hey. They are busy defending their infrastructure. emphasis. I think everybody now has gotten on to the secret that the infrastructure thing is not because they believe that infrastructure would make us free. It is that it is the easiest way to transfer resources over to their favorite people and ultimately to themselves. And they're getting vexed because we bore the hole, we bust the bubble. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We're going to be talking about some of those issues here tonight with Dr. Vincent Adams. Let's bring in Dr. Adams, yes, and let's get started. Dr. Adams, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Dr. Hines. How are you doing? Welcome to our listeners on another Friday night.
Monday she went for Kane. Tuesday she went back again. You remember that, Kaiso?
Oh yeah, those are one of the you always play these classics. I tell you, I can't remember the last year I hear that song, boy, but it's a classic.
Oh yes. You can't tell Gypsy he cussing. She went for Kane.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Doc, help me and help the viewers here this afternoon. Why Jack do you get so vexed when people talk about the infrastructure and this infrastructure emphasis? I was looking at his press conference last night because I don't get to get it during the day, so I look at the rebroadcast at night. And he was visibly very upset that people are questioning this infrastructure thing, you know. And here is the man talking, all right, they're going to build a bridge over the Berbice River because the old one, according to him, outlived its usefulness, and they're going to build a new one. And the opposition and them just opposing for opposing's sake. But then the opposition said, well, we're going to build a bridge from New Amsterdam to Linden. And he said, oh God, there's stupidness. So it's all right. He going to build a bridge, cross the river. The opposition said, all right, you want infrastructure? We're going to give you infrastructure. We're going to build a road from New Amsterdam to Linden. He said, but that is racism. You see how you see the dog whistle? You see?
Yep.
So when he building a bridge, a second bridge in Region 6, it is infrastructure and economic development. The PNC said, well, we can build a road from Linden to New Amsterdam. No, it's not infrastructural development, it's racism. Help us, doctor. We have moved from slavery and colonialism into big university. That's what the Calypsonian said. So you're a big university man. Help us. Help us.
You know, there are certain things that touch that man's nerve, Dr. Hines. Anytime you get in too close to where he's at, he gets uncomfortable. The man even now saying that the man even accusing the PNC, well, the previous government, of being the most corrupt. The man says the most corrupt government in history. I mean, how brazen could you get, Dr. Hines? But you see, that's his tactic. It's a projection thing. It's like, and the best. I always heard the best defense is an offense. That's what he does. So he's putting it out there. It's the best. It's the worst corrupt government ever. And then even this bridge, Dr. Hines. Let me make sense out of this for me. Here you are, you're building a bridge, you're promising people that it's gonna be free when the bridge is done. If it's gonna be free when it's done, give them it free from today. Don't wait until after election. And and from what I gather, I didn't know what the price was, but apparently a truck is like $6,000 across, and a lot of his folks are people with trucks are hard that they want to relieve. You know, but you cross the river for ordinary man up in Linden to cross the river, it's like $60. So this whole thing is to say that you're going to relieve ordinary people of $60 while your people is going to relieve them of $6,000. It's a gimmick. And then on top of that, if you want to do it right now. Don't promise it because it's coming up election time, and basically what he's saying here, just vote for me and I'll get this thing done after the election. It's again, it's another gimmick. But it's all infrastructure, and you know that I spoke about this all the time. We know where the whole objective of this infrastructure, um, spending almost 60% of the national budget on infrastructure is crazy, Dr. Hines. I don't think in any other part of the world you would have seen this. This is craziness. And then on top of that, we do not even have the capacity to build anything, to do infrastructure, because look at the kind of roads that they build. We call them, it was biscuit roads, and guess who are getting the money? Are their friends again? But it's not infrastructure, like I said before. And then he's even gone a step forward now to say that this here is the pathway to sustainability of the country when all is over. And I've said over and over, it is education, Dr. Hines. That's established already. Not by me. It's established by MIT, Sloan Business School, Harvard Business School, in conjunction working with the U.S. government. We've established, and we used to think it was agriculture for decades. And then when we start looking at India and China and and what we call the five miracles out in Asia, there was overwhelming evidence that it wasn't infrastructure, it was education. And all the major companies would tell you that what attracts them for investment, it's education. And what surprised us in all the research, and we looked at actual data, what surprised us was infrastructure was not even number two. It was follow the rule of law. Follow the rule of law. Infrastructure came in number three. But this government has failed in the first two, because they failed in education, as we have seen, because they just to give if you cannot pay your teachers a paltry salary, you're not going to have a teaching profession. All these teachers are going to leave. Which teacher is going to want to stick around to make $500 a month? And then the lowest paid in the Caribbean, we are, Grenada, that doesn't, all they do is produce nutmeg. Their teachers are getting almost 3 times what we're getting. We're the richest country, but only getting 500. 60% of our teachers are getting $500 a month. We're the lowest paid. So it is not infrastructure. It is education. And here's the other thing. Number two is following the rule of law. We have failed miserably. Would you believe that we were ranked we were ranked 76th, Dr. Hines, 76 by the what's the name of the folks? What do they call environmental justice in but there's an international organization that ranks the rule, or the world justice, the world justice organization. And every year they do a ranking. For 2023, Guyana was ranked 76th out of 142 countries, Dr. Hines. You know what was our score? You're a professor. If somebody gets 50 out of 100, what is that? Is that an F or an F minus?
That is an F.
I thought it was an F minus, but you sound like a generous professor. So here they are, for 2023. And by the way, this year was I went to a meeting in on Capitol Hill just a couple of months ago, and the ambassador was there, and this other guy who's in charge of trade, Dr. He was there, and the people presented their data, and they were there, and guess what they did? They went and then they got up there and gave their political speech, which was inappropriate in that forum. And when it was my turn, they walked out. I mean,
they meaning the government representatives.
Yes, they left. I mean, that's the kind of childishness that, because they know that I was gonna correct some of the things that they have said, which was grossly untrue. Because you had the even the congressman that went home, that went to Mako. He was there. He gave his speech, and then that lady from the Virgin Islands, she was there also. But yeah, they walked out. The ambassador, Sam Hines, and the other guy walked out. So, but infrastructure that's an old paradigm which said if you build it, the investors are going to come. It no longer exists. It's either these people, they're just totally ignorant and incompetent and backward. But we know that there's a bigger motive for it. It's about getting the money in their friends' pockets. We're seeing it every single day. And so that's what we're dealing with. It's about education, but they don't care about education for this nation. The man even get up. This man had the nerve, Dr. Hines, in this program on Thursday, because the opposition said that there will be free education at university from next year. You know, the man said, well, we're doing it. That's what we're doing. They're copying from us. This guy has the nerve to even talk about free education at university. Then this man, remember, who abandoned free education, where free education came from. And when they got into office in 1992, I think they abolished it in 1994. And he's got the nerve to accuse the opposition when in government of increasing university fee by 35%. I mean, that's the bare facedness that this guy is dwelling in. And they really don't care. And they don't know, I believe, it's a mixture of filling their friends and families' pockets with a lot of ignorance that these guys are not ready and prepared to run a country, especially in the changing times of the world. They're not ready. And that's what we're suffering from, Dr. Hines. And they don't, they look at everybody from top to bottom in terms of competence. They really don't have it. And that's what we're dealing with. And the people are suffering. But it's not infrastructure. It's all about education.
It's all about education, and that's where it should be. But for them, it is using infrastructure. Now, of course, who is going to say that Guyana doesn't need better infrastructure than it had 10 years ago, 20 years ago? None of us would say that. But of course, we are saying that man shall not live by bread alone. That it's part infrastructure, is part the education infrastructure, is part the human development, how much you're investing directly in human beings. It's healthcare. It's not just hospital, but we still have to fly out when we want to do certain operation. We can't do it. You're building a whole set of hospital, but we can't.
You don't have nobody for man them.
That's right.
You don't have nobody for putting them. And by the way, the other thing is, Doctor, sorry for cutting it, but we talk about connecting the road. It's just this pattern again. One of the first things they did when they get into office, they're building all these hospitals. They shut down the nursing school in Linden. One of the most prominent nursing schools in the country. They shut down the nursing schools. And all them girls who were planning to go to nursing, they had to forget about that opportunity in Linden of all places. So, I mean, there's, he talks about whistling and it's a dog whistle. That's much more than a dog whistle that they're indulging.
They're indulging it, and big infrastructure, man. And when Many people say, all right, well, we're going to build a road from Linden to New
From Linden to
Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam.
He said, people are going to use the road. People are going to, and
Yep.
it's as if the road will be, there'll be nowhere in between Linden and New Amsterdam. You're going from Linden to New Amsterdam. You're passing places. You're not just serving people who live in New Amsterdam and people who live in Linden, but you know the road is passing through. You're talking there about possibility of developing, housing along that way, businesses along the roadway, and so on. But because it's from Linden to New Amsterdam, you see the dog whistle, Linden and New Amsterdam are their stronghold. But you, just the other day, you're saying, oh, you made breakthrough in Linden. You make breakthrough in New Amsterdam. You should be glad. If only this road is for Linden people and New Amsterdam people, I mean, if you get a road from Linden to New Amsterdam, a lot of people commute between Linden and West Coast Bobbies because a lot of the families there are coming. You get a road from Linden to New Amsterdam, you cut down traveling a lot. You can now if you're coming from Linden to Belladrum or Fort Wellington, you don't got to come through the highway, come through East Bank, come through East Coast no more. You come through the road, you get to New Amsterdam, you get to Fort Wellington in 10-15 minutes. But his head is not thinking, because he's not thinking about people.
Yes, exactly.
He's not thinking about people. He said nobody gonna use the road. No, we are ready trying to find ways. People are trying to figure out ways to move from one place to the other as quickly as we can. And it seems to me a road from Linden to New Amsterdam is really a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a very good idea. The potential of food that is produced in Region 6. Going now, it takes less time to get to Linden. That would then affect the market price. Now, the food ain't got to go through West Bobbies, through East Coast, through Georgetown, through East Bank, up the highway to get to Linden. You can now move food from Linden, from Region 6 to Linden easier, which in the end could mean cheaper food for people at Linden.
Yeah.
Now, if I, who am not an economist, can be thinking like that of the thing, you telling me, Jack Dio, can be thinking like that, but you know what, my brother? Every cow a cry for your own calf. Them calf in New Amsterdam and Linden, now you calf them.
Now you calf. Yeah.
So he's not concerned about how their lives would be better. You see these people, and I'm telling some of you all black people, they get text and they get subtext. And sometimes you have to get carried away with the text. But the subtext is where the dangerousness of these people coming. Talking about that.
Before we left this infrastructure thing, I mean we can go on and on with examples of what they're about. Even the Linden Highway, that highway was built, I think, in 1968. The Linden to Soesdijk Highway. It was built, they said like 20 years or so. But anyway, it's been getting its share of maintenance. They're bragging somehow that they're going to be refurbishing this road. Imagine that road is going to remain a 2-lane road with all the accidents, the head-on collisions and everything else. But even further than that, imagine the road from Brazil coming through Linden will be open. So here you're going to have even more traffic than that road was built for. So you're going to have a bottleneck. So this highway from Linden to Georgetown is going to remain a 2-lane highway, but you're building 4-lane highway all over on the East Coast, on the West Coast, every place else. You're building a 4-lane highway, but Linden somehow should remain with a refurbished what 50 something years old road. You're just going to refurbish the surface, and it's going to be patched all the time. It's there's no question that there's going to be it's a recipe for disaster in terms of continued accidents and everything else. But again, it's getting back to they don't care about a certain segment of the community.
They certainly don't. And talking about that, Dr. Adams, this proposed amendment to the cybercrime law.
Oh,
Why should we be skeptical? Talk to me.
well, we're not skeptical. We ought to be worried. We ought to be worried. What we're living in here, Dr. Hines, is a dictatorship, full blown. There's no, people say, well, there's signs of an autocracy. There's no
Shades of
signs.
autocracy.
Yeah,
Shades of autocracy.
there's no signs and shades anymore, Dr. Hines. This is full blown, and they really do not care. I mean, people are not foolish. This here and Nigel use even today explained it very well. Nigel said this is absolute nonsense. If as the law it is right now, if you believe that somehow you're harmed by somebody calling you some name, it's a civil case. You go sue them. But you cannot make it turn it into a criminal violation, and that's what they're doing. But it's not only turning it into crime. It's to intimidate, to scare, and to harass people like us, basically. So anything you say now, and it's not even, you don't even have to say it. You only have to imply it. Without even calling names, based on what I've been reading, without even calling names, you could, just being suggestive, you could be in serious jeopardy. So it comes down to the fact that we're becoming a full-blown, not becoming, we are already, but there's still wars to come. And it's even going to go further than that, because, it's going to become even a tyranny. We're going to live in a tyrannical state. That's what we're dealing with here. So that's the whole purpose of this thing. These guys are using the arm of the law, and then of course we have no law anymore, because even the system, the police and those folks that you depend on to protect you, to make sure you get a fair shake, and with the law, they're also in cahoots with this government. So you have no way of protection when it comes to your security.
No protection when it comes to security. The government is saying that it is trying to bring the cybercrime law in line with the United Nations requirement. But when a dictatorship tells you that it is upgrading a law, nowhere in the world, no book that I have ever read or known of, that says a dictatorship tries to make the law more friendly to ordinary people. No. When they are talking about upgrading the law, they are talking about going after people who they consider to be enemies of the government. And you see Jack Joe spending a lot of time on the enemies. You see the president Irfan spending time on the enemies. You see their hitmen, as Dr. Ramcharan calls them, all out in the place. That's what they do. Since you open your mouth and say anything, they equate criticism of the government with criticism of Indian people. That there's no autonomy. Indian people have no autonomy. If you go against the government, they say you're going against Indian people. They are a full-fledged dictatorship. I agree with the doctor on that. You see? And one of the problems now in societies like ours, because we are timid, and when I say we, I'm not talking about ordinary people. I'm talking about academics and and political commentators and so on. We prefer to wait until the worst happens
Yeah.
and then look back and say, if we had done this, if we had done that. Look at Mahdia. If we were more vigilant on how this government operates, we would have called them out on Mahdia a long time and prevented those young people from
Yeah.
dying. They're making fun of Nigel Hughes talking about pit latrines at schools in the interior. The point there is not pit latrines. The larger point is that you, with all this money, still have Amerindian people living as though as when Columbus got here in 1492. That's the larger point. And we're asking, would you permit that in Enterprise? Would you permit that in Enmore? Would you permit it in Port Morant? No. No. But you are permitting it. And this society has a way of waiting until those pit latrines lead to some disaster. Then we will think. The point is, you see a dictatorship, call it for what it is. Don't wait at night with fire stick for look for things where you can see plain as day. And that is what you see Ralph Ramkaran. There are no shades of autocracy. Where the hell is Ralph living? Where is Ralph living? That Dr. Ramcharan is kind to the PPP, as you have pointed out. Is that shades of autocracy? These people are being autocratic on a daily basis. And what they fear is for certain voices. The thing about Borti Ramcharan, who, in my estimation, is not hostile to the PPP. I think he's more favorable to them. But what? He's an Indian. He's an Indian scholar. All right? And so they do mind we black scholars speaking out. They have problems with that. But when somebody who is of the race that they depend on for their support comes out and says, Dr. Ramcharan is not saying anything new. Henry Jeffrey used that word autocracy every time he come on this program. So many of us. So Dr. Ramcharan is not saying anything new, but he's Indo-Guyanese. And he's not unfriendly to the PPP. And look how they have gone after that man. You're going to think that that man is an outcast. That in itself is the autocracy, as Borti Ramcharan himself has pointed out. The very fact that you are going after someone who is raising a point that everybody else who is serious about what's happening in Guyana has raised. But you go after him viciously because of his identity. That in itself is the very essence of autocracy. If you cannot deal with free speech, you cannot deal with criticism, you're on your way. You're on your way very, very quickly to an autocratic government and state because you cannot deal with criticisms. People beat us up every day and say, you're all talking too much. You're talking too much. And the government doesn't want us to talk. We are in a terrible, terrible, terrible state, and we have to call it for what it is, and we have to do so in a fearless way.
You see, Dr. Hines. Here's the dilemma that they're in. It's desperation. They can't hide anymore. You see, they've taken care of the people who live in Guyana, because those people they're in a position where they can't say or do anything because the government controls everything. Whether you work for the government or in the private sector, your family you you got to depend on the government for a living, and what directly or indirectly. However, it's people like us who from that they really can't touch, and this here is the only way. And the thing is, they're so they're coming out in the open, and they realize that we are not going to allow them to get away with it. So it's just they're trying to intimidate and to shut us up. That's what it is. It's targeted. It's not targeted to any law within operating within Guyana, Doctor Hyde. It's targeted to the people who are speaking up, and that's what it is. It's I mean, what you can tell me again, like, well, as Nigel you says, it adds nothing to the law, because you got an opportunity to, and Jaglio himself has sued several people. The government has sued several people for, look, Sherrod Duncan, just to calling them a trench crapo, right? Okay, you go to court, you sue, whatever the outcome is. So why are you want to go that next step now to call something like that a crime? It's just intimidation and to shut people up, and so the only people that they can target, because they already have the population in Guyana, they're under that control, and that's what it is. And they know that they say, let me try something here for them to see if we can shut them up, or at least ease the the criticism that we get from them.
Doc, so they boast that they move out the dump, the waste thing. They had they were dumping waste and thing in Georgetown, and they heard Jack Dio last night talk about how much money they spend to move out the dump from Georgetown and so on. But it seems as though they're dumping now on the East Bank in Coverdale. Give us the background of that thing, because apparently they've put the thing there and start operating the thing, and the people who live in the area, they know what was happening. Talk to us.
Well, first of all, let's start with with what was there, what they're supposed to be doing, okay? And people have to understand, because everything now, everything that has been coming out here recently has been targeting PWSI. That's the acronym for the company. Of course, Dr. Hines, PWSI was given $214 million by the government. Okay, our taxpayers' money to start this operation. So, they make a big splash out of it in the newspaper. Boom, sign an agreement. The check is over. The fact remains, Dr. Hines, that these people, they don't care what they're doing. We have no arrangement, meaning through this contract, through this oil and gas contract with PWSI or no other company. The only company we have an agreement with for dispositioning, treating of that waste is Exxon. Okay? Exxon is responsible for, they own the waste, they generate it, they have to treat that waste, even if they go get a subcontractor such as PWSI or whatever it is. And then for the final disposition, Exxon is responsible. So what they're doing, they're putting up front again these little companies. Let me tell you, let me tell the people what the facts are. When I arrived in Guyana to take over the EPA on the 4th of October 2018, one of the first things that I saw was what Exxon was doing, and these are really hazardous waste we're talking about, and I'm talking about millions of tons of this waste that is coming ashore, besides what they're dumping, which is another issue. So when that waste comes, they had Tiger Tank, which is a company similar to this new company, I guess. They were handing it over to Tiger Tank and this is Exxon, washing their hands from this waste, Dr. Hines. So I said, no, that has to stop. I said, you are responsible for this waste from what I call cradle to grave, which is a concept, is a process we use in the United States, meaning Exxon, as per the contract, you are the person responsible. You're going to be held accountable for this waste. You could go get your subcontractors or however you want. They're still going to have to get a license from the EPA. but I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. We put together a cradle to grave plan. Exxon had to sign off on the plan. When the government changed and I was leaving, we had just done either I know we finished the fourth draft. I can't remember if we'd done the second draft. Of course, after I left, they threw with everything else, they threw that aside. And so now we're back to where we were, where apparently Exxon is handing this waste over to this new company. This company has no expertise, Dr. Hines, none. We didn't do an EIA, and the EIA is what's supposed to identify what type of waste to design the system. The way that you design a system, Dr. Hines, and you don't even have to be an engineer or a scientist, it's just common sense. You have to characterize the waste, every single piece of chemical that is in that waste, every element. You have to characterize the waste to make sure to see what is in it. And then based upon those characteristics now, you've got to meet a certain standard for treating each of these waste before you can even put it into a landfill. So in order to treat that waste, to get it down to that level, that's what determines how you design your system. Okay? So what they have done, they've got a system in place before they even know what waste is coming in or anything. So they've got no one system can treat all of the chemicals. But the point is, you've got to design your system based on that waste. So when it was asked, do you know what waste is coming in? They don't know what waste is coming in. They don't even know how much waste is coming in. So if they're doing it backwards, well, it's not even backwards, because I'm telling you, they have no intentions of, or they don't even know that you've got to characterize that waste. One of the things that was missing when I got there too with Tiger Red Tank, I asked them, because if a waste is coming to a facility, even though you've got the characteristic, when a waste is coming to a facility, doctor, and there's something called a waste acceptance criteria. Your system is designed to accept a certain amount of waste, a certain type of waste, and it has a whole long list of each chemical that it can take. So when a waste is coming in, you sample that waste to make sure that there's no other chemicals besides what's on that list that your system is designed to take, and it's not coming in more quantities that they decide to take. So waste acceptance criteria is one of the other things that we introduced while I was there. None of that is in place. So here we are. We have a system that has started operating. The EPA gave them a permit that they've been operating. Like they said, now I'm hearing since April they've been operating. It's just like a cowboy thing. And then when you look at the company started last year, June, I think. They got whatever they got from the EPA last year. And they started operating. They're operating already. And it's made up. Well, if you look at it, there are two people in the company. This guy, Jet 2, who was a timber guy. The guy was into timber. He has no expertise, no knowledge. He and another lady by the name of Jet 2, who's I guess related to him. And when you look at their website, there's no other person with any technical expertise. Maybe they have, but there's nothing of the sort. So that's what we're dealing with. And then this is something, but even more than that, this is the kind of operation that you need, what is called an environmental impact assessment that identifies everything, that process that I just went through with you. That's what an EIA does. And it tells you, it runs models to tell you what's going to be the emissions in the water, what's going to be the air emissions, and, it's going to, where people live and how is it going to impact them. And that's what the people are scared about, because they have no clue what this and then you're dealing with maybe radioactive stuff that is coming out to the ground that they're going to be sending, besides the other hazardous chemical. So that's the big unknown with people who are living there as to how it's going to impact them. But because this guy, he owns the land, and I've got family in Hinds'Sight. I could, people just don't walk off the road and say, I've got a piece of land, I'm going to build a facility here to treat that type of dangerous waste. That's not how it works. And here's the other part. There's something called environmental justice But what we have here, and it's a big deal in places such as the United States. This here is environmental injustice, meaning when you preferentially locate these type of hazardous facilities in poor and marginalized neighborhoods.
Mhm.
I say, I say, let us look at Pradoville and Lenora as potential sites also for these type of facilities. We need to learn from other countries, because even in the United States, going back when we were trying to, during the Cold War and that type of stuff, when we build the all our big nuclear weapons complexes, it so happened, without a whole lot of thought into it, we drill it, we put them in these poor neighborhoods where we didn't put it in the bigger cities and those type of places, and then people like myself had to go back and deal with it because things were buried all over the place. We had to dig it up. We had to do all types of stuff. This year, at this juncture, when development has started, we need to learn from those countries and have a plan and think about this as to zoning and where these things ought to be. I remember when I was at EPA, a lot of companies would come to me and I would tell them no, they want to go in Georgetown and Houston, the same, East Bank and those areas. I said, no, Georgetown was not designed and built up that way. And I was sending them to the islands in the Essequibo River, the mouth of the Essequibo that was uninhabited, and and go and see if they can obtain land out there where they can put these facilities if they meet the environmental test. So that's what we're dealing with, a major problem here. But again, we're dealing with a government that really doesn't care. They just really nilly make these decisions. But the people, I admire Adriana Thomas, who's, I guess, she's leading the way in standing up for the rights of the people and for environmental justice. It's a serious matter, but it's I think it's a start of something that everybody in Guyana have to ask themselves, when will it be my turn? Well, will it be, and especially if you live in a poor community, and we've got to start making sure that these poor and marginalized and disadvantaged communities are not taken advantage of. I say, let's, and that's what an EIA does. You look at options. If Pradoville is a better place to put it based on the conditions, the soil conditions, the air conditions, okay, let's put Pradoville in the mix, or
That's
Lenora in the mix.
Yeah, yeah. And Sister Adriana Thomas is going to be here next week. Doc is right; she's very much part of the resistance there to get that waste treatment plant removed. Um, it's in an area where people live, and obviously people are concerned about their safety. 20 years from now, 15 years from now, you're going to hear, look, illnesses can be traced right back to that treatment. And I think we clearly we can depend on this government to defend us against Exxon. But more importantly, we can depend on the government to defend us against money people. That man put that thing there because he owned the land. He clearly is a well-to-do man. And he owned the land. He don't care about people who living around there. And that's where the government should step in. The government should step in and said, no, we are as government here to protect the welfare of the people. That's a cardinal principle in governance, protecting the welfare of the people. And here people are crying out for their welfare, and the government, Joel Bagwandin and all the rest of them, hollering down at people, taking the stand against those who are powerful and not standing with the powerless. Doc, big cocaine haul in Region 1. So we're not only a country with big money now, we're a country with big cocaine. And of course, I'm being serious here because we see that wherever these petro states raise up, there are all kinds of other things that follow because it's where the action is. And given the porous nature of our borders, we are not able to police our borders. We are not able to police the interior. Given the level of official corruption, we are not certain that those who are put there to protect us and to prevent the cat from drinking out the milk, that they don't drink out the milk before the cat come. We are hearing all kinds of stories of police connection here, the commander being recalled. We are hearing all kinds of stories. The fact that the FBI and the DEA and all them went in there without telling the Guyana police force anything. And now we're hearing the police force. Is my head spinning? Am I inventing things, Doc?
No, they have your head spinning. Be with it's I mean, sometimes you get so frustrated and frustrated from the fact that you believe that they take us all for fools, and it's just like if they don't care, Doc. And of course, we're hearing the same thing about some top cop involved. Well, no name has been disclosed, or you're not seeing any action. But then if you look at the Brutus, the whole Brutus thing that was going on there, and Brutus is still there, and from what I gather, Brutus has said if he's going on, he's taking others with him. So here you've got to know what is preventing them from taking action against or even investigating the allegations against Mr. Brutus and the allegations against his wife, etc. There has to be some people up there who are scared to death that they might be on the gallows too. But you can't tell me, Doctor. There are a few things. How come in the recent times these big discoveries of drugs are only occurring in the presence of the DEA? You can't tell me the DEA is going to walk into my country and knows what's in there better than I have been. You've got police who've been working in these areas. You can't tell me that they don't know that an airstrip or whatever it is, the infrastructure to get in and burying stuff, you can't tell me that they do not know that these things are there. We know that. Even the resident, but apparently the residents in that area, because you've got to see action, people moving and suspicious activity. But of course, the residents they're probably afraid to even say anything. The people who are seeing are afraid to say anything because of the kind of government that we have. So I mean, we all welcome the involvement of the FBI and the DEA and those type of people. But I'm telling you, what we see in that one area there, I guarantee you that is occurring in several other parts of the country. And they're not doing anything about it, and they know about it, Doctor, and they know about it.
I am very sure that they do. Good evening to you, Jamal Aziz, West Babis. Good evening to all you wonderful people from Linden, Christianborg.
Here, I might even go further and start talking about section B and section C now, so be careful.
Yeah, I know lots of you people from Linden are on here, and of course, Dr. Adams is from Linden, and he doesn't make fun at all. You gotta be specific. I get into trouble for that too, because when I meet people in America and they tell me, "Well, I'm from Guyana," I say, "Which part of Guyana?" "From George." "So which part of Georgetown?" Georgetown is a big place. So I know what we're talking about, Doc. As we move towards the end of the year, we've seen the half-yearly report, and we've seen those big numbers there. Clearly, our economy is doing well, and we must celebrate that. We must celebrate the fact that our economy is doing well. We can't deny that we are now a full petrol state, and that the contract that they are abusing out left, right, and center, as flawed as that contract is, it is bringing revenue to our country that we never had before. It doesn't mean that that makes the contract good. We can't be that simplistic, and obviously we are not. But we are saying, yes, the contract needs repairing. But for now, the bad contract is bringing money that we've never brought before. And when you look at the kind of half-yearly report from the finance ministry that they've put out there, you have to pinch yourself and say, is that our Guyana? Yes, it is our Guyana. We are in the big league compared with a lot of countries across the world. But the question always has to be asked very quickly, so that you now have all of this revenue coming in. How is the government intentionally distributing those revenues to ensure that the people of Guyana can show the same kind of qualitative betterment, advance? You know, a lot of redundancy there, but sometimes we have to be redundant. How it is the government that has to pay. We, the people, can't make it happen. It is the government. And the government, I'm afraid, is not thinking about how to democratically ensure that the dividends we get, that the people of Guyana can say, yes, when I look around me, when I look at where I am, when I look at what I can afford, when I look at what disposable money I may have in the bank, I can say, yes, I am in an oil-rich state. I can feel it in my bones. I can see it around me. Unfortunately, that's not the case. 50% drop out from school, you know. Now the president has realized that our people are not passing math. Math was always a hard thing for us. When I was a schoolboy, math was hard. So I'm not sitting here and saying that is a cakewalk, but I'm saying that you have to have an education policy. You have to have a vision about education. The president is ordering now that they have to do something about math, as if that's how you fix a system by the autocrat just ordering it.
Without teachers,
without teachers. Yeah.
Without teachers too. You know, let's start with this, the metric by which we measure the economy. Of course, we all are glad because when you look at the numbers, it's impressive. The GDP of close to 50%. I mean, there's very few countries, including the United States, are not even going into double figures. So it's very impressive. But then when you break down that numbers, where GDP is the cost of the cost, well, the value of the economy. But a lot of that value, especially when we go back to the contract, when we're only receiving 14.5% of all of that money, who knows where the rest, the rest of it is going to Exxon and those foreign companies. So even though you're producing the goods and services that adds up to that number within the country, who knows how much of that is actually really going to those countries. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which is even more important, I do not like using the GDP as a misnomer. There's some other measurement indices, such as there's a UN index that's called the quality of life indices, and we rank very low on that. Because, and what that means is that if more than half of the population or half is living on $5 or I think $4.50 or $5 US dollars per day, there is something wrong. When we've got 60% of our budget almost tripled in the last few years. However, we still have people, half of the population is living on $5 a day. There is something wrong. That GDP does not reflect, the actual nature of the country. But the problem is, you would have thought that a government, a responsible government, would have looked at that and understood that. It's not that they don't understand it, but they really don't care because they're just looking at power, and power also means filling their friends and families and favorites pockets. And as long as they do that, that's all that means anything to them, because they know that they know how the politics of Guyana is divided along race, and they believe that as long as they can maintain, they can the Indians will never go vote for the black party, and they've got more Indians than black, and all they've got to do is keep the Amerindians and the other minorities happy, and they're gonna win even if it's by that one seat majority. So that's their bet, Dr. Hines, and that is their strategy. It's as clear and simple as that. And of course, they not only is the country being showered with money, the political party, because remember it when they it's a quid pro quo when they fill their friends and families and favorite pockets with money, a lot of that money is coming back to guess who? Coming back to them also and to the party. So they've got the advantage, and that's the way they intend to maintain it. And they could care less what you and I say, and even want to go to the next step, which is to shut us down completely, to have so there would be no criticism whatsoever. So that's the sad part of it. In the numbers say one thing, but the actual life of the people says something else. I mean, look, doctors, they don't care about poor people, even in their own community. Look what they did. Well, forget about Mocha, because Mocha is not their community. But look at this community up in East Bank here recently, when they just bulldoze folks home. Look at Success. That's in their area. They bulldoze people and remove them out. They do not want like poor people. Period. It's to keep that operation on going, and they believe as long as they can do that, they're gonna stay in power and enjoy the nice life. But they don't care about the folks who are trying to who's struggling, and I mean really struggling. Look, and I'm not an apologist for crime, but every day you open the newspaper in a country such as this. I remember I read here recently, Dr. Hines, a man gets sentenced, and he thanked the judge for sentencing him to prison because he said, he's gonna get a daily meal and then have a better life in prison than being out of prison. This is in a country of Guyana, like Guyana, one of the richest country in the world. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yes. And any government who yesterday could tell teachers that you can only give them 10%,
Yep.
And then today their failures in math. We are doing 60 and 70 something percent in English, our native language. Our native language, where you should be getting 100, close to 100%, the section, math. And you can't make the connection between not paying the teachers enough and the failures you're seeing in the political system. It means that you're either crazy or you're an autocrat. And I think it's both. It's both. If you cannot see the connection between those two variables, then something is wrong with you. Telling teachers to go and teach more maths in the morning and so on. You first of all, you gotta get maths teachers.
That's right.
Those maths teachers got to feel that they're properly paid.
Yep.
They're properly trained. The thing has to be looked at holistically. You can't go and tell them, teach more maths in the morning. The kind of backwardness that passes for leadership. You see? That my God, it's not my Guyana. It's not my Guyana at all. At least, Doc, we used to pride ourselves on the fact that we got bright people. We have a system, it's a colonial system, but it was putting out bright people. Now we have someone who can become the president of this country and feel that you have a crisis in the education system, and you just have to give an order to them, go fix it, teach more maths in
Yes.
the morning. I will meet where we go.
Yep.
I will
Yep.
meet where we going. And but we gotta get off this train
But
as
these guys believe you can just buy your way to whatever you want. I mean, look, the president, the allegations of, look, I mean, his degree, is I mean, the guy who claimed he went to Lenore to I guess to he went to University of Iflot to get it, and he got a degree from there so that he can get admitted to another university someplace, do a correspondence. So, I mean, it gets down to morality and value system. I mean, so that's the kind of thing. So education doesn't mean anything deep within the soul of these people, Dr. Hines. It's you know it's a sad state of affair. Um, when as to where we are today, we know long time. Um, Teachers used to give you lessons for free because at least they were respected and they were getting paid enough to at least have a fair standard of living. But that's now is being eroded in an economy such as this, where inflation is going sky high, and they do not understand. I don't think that they don't understand that. You cannot tell me that they do not understand. At least with they've been around, you would think, internationally, and have seen what other countries are doing, and have been talking to people from these other countries in terms of the value of education. They like to talk about Singapore. If they really look at countries such as Singapore, that Singapore foundation of this development was based on education. I used to be at international conferences, science and engineering, Dr. Hines. I even chaired some of these conferences, and we used to be shocked to see how many people from Singapore are there. And when you get to talking to them, they're not just going there to have a good time in the night. You go have a drink and party and stuff. When they go back, they've got to go and teach what they've learned at those conferences. So, we talk a good game about Singapore and Norway and all these places, but we're far removed from it, from doing what we think are good models. How could you not? You're gonna pay teachers at 10% pay raise when, like I said, 9,000 of those teachers, or about 60% of them, are making 100,000 Guyana dollars per month. What is going to happen, Dr. Hines? He's telling people to go teach extra. These guys I mean, like, it's embarrassing when they make these, when they utter these type of nonsense. Because what is going to happen, Dr. Hines, and I'm going to predict this. I hate to do it. What is going to happen? We're going to lose a lot of our teachers, and we're not going to get anybody who wants to go into the teaching profession. And so we're going to end up without the education system is going to become worse, because I will not encourage my younger family members to get into teaching, even though it may not be necessary for me to say anything. They can see it for themselves as to how teachers are being treated. So we're going to have a system, and like I said, even though education is the foundation to any country's development, that's a fact. Still, we're going to have that the legs from under that foundation are going to be, there is going to be no legs. It's going to be removed by this government, and it's through ignorance, incompetence, and they really don't care. That's what's going to happen to this country.
Dr. Vincent Adams here tonight, and we're talking as usual on a Friday night. We're touching a range of issues. Dr. Adams, any closing thoughts as we go out?
No, I think we've covered here quite a bit. It's just, you just gotta sometimes, just wait for next Thursday to hear some not a bunch of propaganda and foolishness that comes out of the the vice president's mouth. And but you know the 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 thing that is so frustrating though, Dr. Hines, is that they really don't care. And the reason why they don't care, because they live big, fat, and happy. The minister's salaries are like the minister of education, just for comparison, but you can say the same thing for the other minister. My what I read is that she gets like something like 1.8 million dollars US, and teachers are making what, 100,000. She's got a chauffeur. She's got a big SUV. Her kids are going to private schools. She's got security, and so that's the disparity. And then you hear Jagdi always comes up, well, and bash the people when they're in government with the big salary raise they give themselves, the 50%. And as a matter of fact, I was one of those, to, by the way, for full disclosure, I thought it was a bad decision. It shouldn't have been. However, well, if you're gonna bash them and feel it's such a thing that is so bad, give it back when you get into office. Stop this hypocrisy and blame. Well, why, if you think it's such a bad thing, give it up. As soon as you got into office, you say, something, because you remember that was one of their biggest campaign slogans. And if you got into office, then you should have given it up. Say, hey, you know what? This was a bad thing. I cannot live this way, knowing that the rest of the population, the teachers, give up that 50% pay raise that you bash the opposition about. But no, they're built on top of it. As a matter of fact, they've given themselves a bigger pay raise. So now they've given themselves, and when you take the same percentage, that let's say you get 10%, the government employees get 10%. 10% of 1.8 million is close to $200,000. 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. So they're getting better and better, while the poor folks cannot keep up with basic inflation based upon the raise that they're getting. So it's, rather than moving forward, we're moving backward with the governance of this country.
Dr. Vincent Adams, thank you, my brother, for coming through on yet another Friday evening, and I will see you next week. But before next week, I'll see you on Sunday.
Sunday.
Right.
I can't wait. Can't wait for Sunday. I think that's going to be a Hetimari show.
I say no more at this time. Sunday.
Wait, are they playing? Are they playing before Sunday?
No. Much to our disappointment. I think tonight St. Kitts is playing Barbados, and then tomorrow there is a double header. But I don't think it involves the Warriors. They're not playing till next week.
Okay. Tomorrow I'm supporting at 10. I'm supposed to be on this. You might know these guys from Antigua. The McAllister, Alistair, I think.
Oh, Alistair Thomas?
Yes.
It's out of St. Vincent, I think.
Okay, yeah. I'm supposed to be on that.
Yeah, it's a good program. I've been on it a couple of times.
Yes. I think that might be the same program I was on when they had this spill, but I couldn't remember when they had the spill in Trinidad.
Right.
I was on a program from that, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you on Sunday. And to your audience, always good, always my pleasure to stay with you. Yes, Marcia, thanks for that information. They share out $1,000 handout today in Madia, and that's what they're doing, go around the place. And Marcia, right, you take your money and you tell them you are APNU. You're APNU. Thank you all for staying with us on another evening, another Friday night. You cricket lovers, we'll see you on Sunday. And then on Monday, we'll be back here. Good lineup next week. We're going to have Sister Adriana to talk about that dump site there on the East Bank. And they're sending out death threats and all kind of things and saying that they are angels. Dr. Jeffrey is going to be on next week. So we're gonna be firing off next week, as we have been doing for the last 4 years. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you all next week, Monday, but before that, on Sunday night.